Okay, we're live.
Hello and good evening, good morning, or good evening, what time of day you're going to be watching this. We're here for another one of our Society for One Place Studies Hangouts on air. And this month we have Kirsty, who's going to help us to visualise our place through field names, place names, street names and other names. So over to you, Kirsty.
Thank you very much. Well, I've very much planned this to be an introduction and then lots of discussion, because as anyone who's been to any of our Hangouts in the past before will know, my two main places that I study are minute, and the third one that I've moved to studying is even smaller. So I'm certainly not going to profess to be an expert on this in any way, shape or form, or even have many names, place names, etc. to talk about. But I'm going to give you a sort of a little trot through of how you can try and visualize your study wherever it may be. Mine will obviously be based very much on English sources, because that's where my studies are. So apologies if you're watching in and your study is in America, or anywhere else across the world, but hopefully you can convert some of the thoughts and things that we discuss into your own place studies across the globe. So I'm going to go for the wonders of screen share. She says, and goes to screen share and realizes that her PowerPoint isn't actually showing, which is always wonderful when you start doing screen share. So let's just try that again. And it's still not there. Fantastic. I do love it when a plan comes together, having literally just tested it out with Susie just moments ago. Let's see. Hey, there we go. We've just done a little click and a little jazzy job, and we're all right. There we go. Splendiferous. We get there in the end with a bit of waffle in the middle. Anyways, we're there now. So for those of you who read the blog about this particular Hangout, there are a few questions that I posed in there, which I was hoping, I am hoping, that some people might have considered. How can we visualise the lie of the land in our One Place studies 200 years ago, 100 years ago, at the outbreak of World War I or World War II? What resources might be available to research the changes over time? And I've sort of mooted the fact in the blog that, you know, depending on the size and also the location of our studies, the answers will massively vary, I would imagine. Although all the people in the room on the Hangout have English studies, despite the fact that certain people don't reside in England. So I'm hoping, as I say, it'll open up a few ideas, thoughts, places you might want to go and look at that might translate into to different countries. So this is the vision, to try and visualise the lie of the land in the 19th century, in the 20th century, and in the 21st. I haven't gone any further back than that, just purely because, you know, I want to talk about the last 200 years, which is, for me, certainly, when the records are significantly better, shall we say, than prior to that. So I'm going to start off in the 19th century, and I'm going to share a couple of resources that I've got for my own study. This is not designed for you to be able to read in great detail, more to show you how rural my place is. This is the Tithe Map for TechCot. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of Tithe Maps, sorry for those of you that are, but a little bit of history about the origins of Tithe Maps and how they came to be. They were drawn up for the parishes of England and Wales, and there are tithe apportionments and tithe maps. So these are really important sources of information about the history and topography of a parish. They're often the earliest complete maps. They certainly are, as far as I'm aware, for my own places. And they provide details of land ownership and occupation of the land as well. So that may differ. Of course, the person who owns it may not necessarily be the person who resides there. And also the type of cultivation of the land, if it's farming or whatever. And these were produced actually, not for genealogists and historians of the future, surprisingly, but to assess the tithe that was payable, hence tithe maps, tithe apportionment. They were designed or produced to assess that kind of tithe that was payable in cash to the parish church to support the church and the clergy. And that tithe had to be paid in kind until the Commutation Act, which was passed in 1836, when it was agreed that could be converted into a monetary payment. So these were drawn up in between 1836 and 1852. So it's quite a broad window when the particular parish that you're looking at or area that you're looking at may have actually had its tithe map and apportionment drawn up. And it was done for 11,395 parishes. And it lists all the properties in the area, and the tithes were, as you can see on the screen there, plotted on a map and numbered. Now you can probably see, even from the level that I've managed to do it on at the moment, that the numbers don't actually seem to have any semblance of, shall we say, sensical numbering, because the one sort of just north of 1 is 299. So they weren't necessarily sort of numeric in terms of, you know, the order that somebody went and you know, mapped them in. So the numbers refer to a section of the land, and then that refers to a corresponding tithe schedule book or apportionment, which describes the land and its rentable value, the size and use of each of the buildings. So you can see there's a couple of buildings on there, but actually not very many. Some towards the top right of the picture there in Moortown. There's very, very few buildings there. There's the church itself and some of the manor buildings that you can see, but most of it is farmland. And on the apportionment, as I said before, it also mentions the owners and the tenants' names. So this provides a really good graphic description for the owners and residents in the parish in that time frame. So it's from 1836 to 1852 that those parish maps and apportionments, the tithe maps and apportionments, were actually created. So in terms of locating those, in fact, actually what I'll go on to is I'll show you the apportionment itself. Some of them are handwritten, and some of them have since been typed up. I have actually looked at both of these, and I'll tell you a little bit more about this particular part of the apportionment in a moment. But you can probably, if I just flick back momentarily, you can probably see where 1 and 3 are to the far sort of left-ish of the screen there. And if we look over onto the side, you can see that it's numbered 1, 2 and 3 at the top there. So it's part of Barton. So it the bottom as well in terms of places that form part of that. In terms of finding copies of these, 3 copies were actually prepared. 1 copy was held by the Tithe Commissioner, 1 locally in the parish church, and 1 in a word I'm very bad at pronouncing, diocesan registry. We'll leave it at that. Basically, if you're searching in England and Wales, the National Archives Discovery Catalogue will show the location of the archived maps and schedules. Generally, they're within the county record offices and at the National Archives in 2 different classes, which are IR for Inland Revenue, IR 30, which is the maps, and IR 29, which is for the schedules or the apportionments that go with them. So, as I say, for this particular part, the tithe apportionment, this is an extract of the schedule book for Tetcop, which shows on the left-hand side that Sir William Molesworth, who was a baronet, he owned Tetcop Barton, but Francis Chappell, so that's the second column across, Francis Chappell was actually the tenant. So these are a little bit sort of similar to the hearth tax returns of the late 17th century, if any of those exist for your particular parish or place in question. And obviously the main function of this is to really find out the social status of individuals within the community. The first column states the landowner, the second the occupier, and then we have all these little parcels of land that are included on the map that I previously showed you. In fact, I've done a slightly bigger one there so you can see it slightly larger, that second part. And you'll see that there are 3 numbers in the far right-hand side, and they relate to the old way of measuring things, which was acres, roods, or sometimes rods, it's shortened to single O, and perches, which is a very strange thing to try and sort of work out now. Thank goodness for the metric system, it was significantly easier. But the total actually for Tetcop Barton in terms of the land, the plot itself, consisted of 422 acres, 3 roods and 12 perches, which is huge, really. And if you calculate that, there's some calculation conversions that are available, so you can actually work out what that means in perches. And it's 67,532 perches by my calculation, which is quite some bit of land. Some of those you could see on the previous map that I showed you, and some of them obviously not. So this is really, from my perspective, for my parish of Tetcop, the first really good way to visualise who was there, what the land was used for, how large it was, and see, you know, as I often say, the lie of the land. So if we move forward to later on in the 1800s or the 19th century, there are quite a few old parish maps that are now available. This is actually a screenshot from Cassini Maps. There are other online suppliers and offline suppliers who provide maps for the places. And I was actually a little bit dubious, I've got to say. I hadn't put my name of my parish into that block before I prepared this Hangout presentation, and I thought, nah, they're not going to have my parishes, because whenever I put my parishes in, they're not there. Well, I'm damned they were, which I'll show you what they actually present to you in the search response in a second. But I mean, these maps that that Cassini are selling, they are 6-inch to the mile maps, or originally they were 6-inch to the mile maps, and they date from 1824, actually more up to the 1880 to 1910 period that I've put on the bottom there. So basically, every corner of the country, including private property, was visited, and the Survey Act was passed, which gave surveyors the right to enter any land for the purposes of carrying out that duty. Because of course, I'm sure, like people nowadays, you wouldn't really want people just pottering onto your farm and saying, well, how big's your farm? So there was a particular Survey Act which was passed to enable the surveyors to do that. And it also specified the types of boundaries that the new maps were going to display down to a parish level. So Cassini, as I've shown you on the screenshot there, they've produced county series parish maps, as you can see there, but it's 1 to 10,000. And that's slightly different to bring it in line with the metric system, because actually if the 6-inch to a mile is about 1 to 10,800 and something tiny. So they've brought it more in line with the metric system. And obviously with the digital enhancement that they've done, they can really show some very high quality maps. So as I said, doing a search for Tetcott and Luffingcott, generally I get absolutely nothing. But actually, this is a screenshot. Obviously you can see it's copyrighted Cassini, it's just used for the purposes of this, but again it shows me how rural my area is, and in fact how much forest there is in Tetcott, just by having that that they've created on there. And apparently they're all reduced from £12.99 to £5.99. Well, I think with a parish my size it should be about £1.99, but anyway. Then I've also got one for Luffingcott, which is less foresty and more sort of farmland and so on. But again, it's moving me forward. Map of the 1911 parish. It's moving me forward from Tetcott, from the Tithe. Both starts with a T. From the Tithe maps of the early 1834 to 1852 period, to see how things have changed. And I'll be honest, they haven't changed very much, because my parish has always been rural, and there's been very little land change over the years in terms of what it's been used for, or indeed the properties that are there. So I then tried to actually look at something for the 20th century. And this is the Ordnance Survey of England and Wales Revised New Series. Brilliant. That's as detailed as I can get. In 1904, that is as detailed as I can get it. And this is off the Vision of Britain site, which has loads of different maps for different years, different areas, different reasons, and so on. So if you put your parish into there, it creates lots of different options. But I wasn't overly enamoured with this one. I was thinking I might get a bit more from them, bearing in mind, obviously, the one that we could get from Cassini. But this is as detailed as I could manage from 1904. So I was kind of grateful for the other one. Moving, as I said, into the 20th century, the Ordnance Survey do provide some good ones. This is around about the turn of, or rather the end of World War II. But you don't get much depth, but you can still see Moortown, which was in the corner of the Tithe map that I showed you. Tetcott Central, that's about it. But you can see, obviously, some of the uses of the buildings. So I've got a school and a pub. Well, I did then, I don't anymore, but I had a school and a pub. But interestingly, kennels. Right back in 1948, there were kennels. And I sort of thought, really? Are they actually like dog kennels, or is it the name of a property? And I believe it's dog kennels, because I don't have a property that's actually called Kennels in Tetcott. which is odd. I didn't think they'd have dog kennels in 1945, but who knows? A bit more research.
Kirsty, is that your hunt kennels?
Yeah.
Because don't you have a Teckott
Yes, I think
hunt?
it is. Yeah. But it's interesting that they're called kennels rather than it just being a property where they are stored at the back. I mean, it's quite a big word on that map. So I was just a bit, it probably is that, but I'm just sort of, really, would you call it a kennels for a hunt? Maybe, I don't know, but certainly a bit more than I was expecting to see in terms of a larger word. You know, it's the same kind of font as the school. So it's obviously a big part of the community. If we fast forward to now, this is an Ordnance Survey map of now. As you can see, I have millions of major roads. Not. Look very carefully and you might see a white road that kind of wiggles its way through there. From the bottom sort of right, you might be able to see the fork that comes up to Withering Heights, which I think is wonderful. My favourite place name, which is Stop a Little, which is sort of almost central. But there's an A road that passes up on the right-hand side, but you've got very little that's actually recorded on there. Some of the properties are on there, but not really very much. And that's a 21st century, now map of the area. So you can see it's pretty rural even now. And if you go down off the fork towards Withering Heights, you can't pass another car with ease, and you certainly can't pass a tractor. Those roads are definitely designed for tractors, not me. This, however, just to compare now to the Tithe Map of I think mine was 1836 from memory. This is what that same area looks like. So you've got the manor, the church, where it's got the PW, that's the churchyard. You've got Reeve House, Teckott Barton, and Glebe House. And I don't know if I can, yes, can you see my mouse on there? Yes, so that there is a very interesting building, which actually is that.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's this funny, I mean, it literally is, well, as you can see in the picture there, it's square, and you can see on the map just there, that's Teckott Granary, and it still stands to this day. That photograph's one of my own. I took it a couple of years ago now when I did my little tour of Teckott and got I won't say assaulted, but something along those lines by some of the neighbouring residents. What are you doing taking photographs of our house and all the contents of the village? But they were actually very useful, as I've mentioned on a hangout before. And this forms part of the Teckott Barton. It wouldn't be a property that would have been listed perhaps on the tithe apportionment itself, but that's still there. And actually, you can probably see in that photograph, the church is just at the bottom of the lane, just by the trees. So this is also part of the Barton land. The village is still very, very small. And as I say, the maps actually, for me, over the years, show very little change. There's been a small amount of council sort of bungalow building, very much in, I don't know if you can really call it the village centre actually, but in the middle of the village anyway. But there's been very little change. The buildings themselves have changed in terms of their use. So there is no school, there is no pub. There used to be a post office, but there isn't even that anymore. So it's very, very rural, and I would say probably more isolated now than it used to be in terms of the amenities that they have within the village itself. So yeah, for me, the changes are minimal, but having those opportunities to look at the maps and so on over the years, I mean, that's literally 200 years. It's not everything that's there, I'm sure. Certainly, as I said in the blog prior to this, I do have challenges because of the nature of the beast, the fact that both of my places are so small. So it is a little bit harder perhaps to build a bigger picture of the community by studying some of these places. But as I say, to keep it's been very consistent over the years with little change, and that's shown in the population numbers as well. So I have fantastic field names which I can share with you as well. But I think probably now's the time to stop my screen share and let some people in the room kind of share some of theirs, or maybe some questions as well. I'm back in the room.
Thank you. Something that I noticed with the Tithe Map, because those of you who've read Destinations know that I spent a long time colouring it in with my paints and crayons. But we noticed that there were, and this is a made-up example because I can't think of a real one, but there were fields that were called something like Cherry Orchard. But actually, when you looked at the land use, it was something completely different. Let's say it was arable, for example. And because I'm not a farming girl by birth or anything, we spoke to a local farmer about the changes in agriculture, and one of the things that had surprised us was the amount of arable land, because the oil around here isn't terribly brilliant. And he said that because of the date of it, you're looking at being beyond the very early 1800s, when there were lots of changes in agriculture to bring more marginal land under cultivation, partly because we were importing foodstuff from Europe even as early as that, and the Napoleonic Wars meant that we couldn't do that, so we needed to produce more of our own. Added to the fact that you're at the beginning of the massive population increase that you're going to get between 1800 and 1850, and again you need more productive land, because we're not yet quite at the stage making each acre produce twice as much. The only way to produce twice as much was to farm 2 acres instead of 1. So he said you will find that a lot of the old field names, if they indicate a land use, are different from what that land use actually was, because they were in a sort of state of flux at that time. I thought that was quite interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem that I have in terms of kind of mapping my people into those places is that if I look at my baptism records and things like that, guess what they all say in terms of abode? Tetcott. Yeah. Nothing else at all for donkey's years. I mean, I think probably I'll say 1881-ish, I think it is. Or maybe before that, actually. I'm just looking at something now. So, earlier than I thought, actually. About 1846, the baptisms, actually. Some of them start saying flat roof, which I still haven't worked out what that is, even though my own family, or my Silliphants are there, not my own family. But even then, it's still, some of them are saying Tetcott, East Peak, Poorhouse. That's a different one too. But yeah, they don't sort of help me to put my people in their places. I've kind of got the map, and then I have to compare it to the censuses to then try and work out. I mean, even the censuses for me, some of them don't actually state the places. They just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gee, thanks. That's really helpful.
Kirsty, can I share with you what I did on my study?
Yeah, please.
Well, everybody, I'll share. I
was going to say, it doesn't have to be just me, Peter.
I've obviously been doing quite a bit on mapping, and I'm going to be talking about that at the conference, so I won't talk much about it now. But the first thing I did with my study was go to the library and look at the maps for the village. And in fact, I produced my own book. I don't know if can you see? I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
But basically, what I did was I photographed all the 25-inch Ordnance Survey maps.
Brilliant.
And I then manipulated them. Obviously, the joins always come in the middle of the place. So I joined them up and aligned them so they tied in. So this one, for example, is about 1887. And I've got the same village, a different year. That's 1900. And another one, 1926. So they're all aligned the same way, the same scale. So I've produced that in a book so that I can easily flick through and see which houses were there in one map and not on another. And I've done that for the different bits of the village. And I've also got about 100 other maps, obviously a lot
100, Peter? Did you actually mean 100?
Yeah, about 100 maps of the village, not, but like 1 inch or or bigger scale.
Yeah.
But they show all sorts of things, like the Bartholomews, and going back a lot. There's the speed and all the others. There's some hints. Some of them are very sketchy, but don't give any detail. But for example, there's a map I found, and it shows a road that does not exist today, and that was rather interesting because it indicates something that we're exploring.
Yeah.
So and I've, technology terms, I've been developing things that will enable you to overlap and see how the maps interrelate and how the people.
I think we've got society jealousy going on the chat here, Peter. 3 of us have gone jealous of Peter's maps.
Map envy.
I'm fascinated by the maps, so that's what the first thing I did, because I need to show, I need to understand what has happened.
Yeah.
And I've got a 1747 map that I overlaid on it as well, and an 1851 that was totally upside down from what I expected. So it took me a while to work out what was going on.
Yeah. You're so lucky to have so much. Maybe I'm just missing a whole load of my parish.
All in the library. They were all laid out, and happy for me to photograph them.
Wow.
So, yeah. I mean, I suspect, I would expect there's lots around. This was Huntingdonshire, a lot of the maps. So I suspect a lot of counties have got them.
Yeah. I think it's just the fact you have to dig so deep for them. And I think some of the smaller, certainly, as I say, my smaller parishes sometimes miss out, or they're not retained, or damage is a problem that I have with a lot of the documents for my parish too.
Yeah, yeah.
We are all very envious.
Well, we'll talk about it more at the conference.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We will look forward to it.
Because I've although a lot of my people on the censuses, it says High Street,
Yeah.
50, 60 different families living on High Street. But I have, with those maps, I can work out some of them where they live. There's enough pub, 20 pubs or whatever. You can usually work out how many different dwellings there are between the different pubs. And I've worked out some of the buildings, but so I can work out where people are, but others I can't.
Well, I have, as I said, this family that lived at Flat Roof, and I, to this day, cannot work out where Flat Roof is, because there is a cottage where I kind of think, if you look at the way the census is created in terms of, from one place to another, I can kind of work out where it should physically be. But I think either it's changed a lot because it doesn't have a flat roof. So I'm guessing by the name that I'm looking for a flat roofed building, but there's only a cottage there. So maybe it's either been knocked down over the years or whatever, but I certainly don't think that it's still there now. But let's say that the changes are minimal. So I'd be surprised if one whole building was knocked down.
Well, what year were you talking about for flat roof?
Flat roof was definitely in, you're putting me on the spot here, Peter. I think 1911 census, it was still there.
Would they have the technology? I mean, I'm just wondering whether they could build flat roofs.
It just seems odd to call a place flat roof if it doesn't have a flat roof.
Living in the pigsty, perhaps.
But it may have been it may be a corruption of a word,
I'll put my syllaphants in the pigsty, Susie. So Janet, what have you done on your maps of your place? Because you've got lots of different places. And
yes.
I know Bucks Mills is quite well documented, I think, isn't it?
The problem with Bucks Mills from the point of view of Tithe Maps is that at that point it was 2 different maps. So it's 2 different parishes.
Noodles.
And they're not quite the same scale, and they're both pretty grotty. Well, I say they're both pretty grotty copies. I started off and I accessed first of all the ones that were at the National Archives, and I have the same trouble with Buckland Brewer the other way round, in that the copy that's at Devon Heritage Centre, someone conveniently knocked a bottle of ink all over.
Oh no!
So I'm in a Devon sell the Tithe Maps now on a CD. They're also online. They've not been online very long, but they are online. But if one map is not very good, say the local one is not very good, you can try the one that's at the National Archives, because sometimes that will be a better, clearer, or whatever. So that's a bit of a help. I mean, I have the problems that you have, that even in Buckland Brewer, which is larger, people just live in Buckland Brewer. They don't live anywhere. And even today, we don't have very many road names. I mean, my house doesn't have a road name, and people really aren't comfortable with that, particularly when you're filling in forms which insist you've got a road name. And no, I really don't.
No, I really don't. Yeah.
But where we do score is that the property names, like my own house, are often surnames. So we've got all sorts of surnames that refer to various cottages. And I think what seems to happen is that they get called that surname sometimes after the people have left, rather than while they're still there, as it used to be the cottage that so-and-so used to live in. So that can be quite handy, because at some point there is a connection between that cottage and that you assume, and that family name. So that
I have an interesting situation. I've done a couple of walks around our village and different bits of it, taking people, telling them about the history and the different maps and different people that live there. And I did one, and there's a little road there. I found out it had about 6 different names, 2 or 3 different families that had been called after, almost at the same time. So that was interesting. Ordnance Survey had it as 2 different names on different maps.
Oh.
You're lucky to get engagement from your villagers.
Oh well, it's our little local history group. I mean, well, there's about 5 or 6 of us. The first time I did it, but it poured with rain, so we had to abandon it. And only 8 came the next time, but never mind.
We've got some road names that have nicknames. 2 of the roads actually really do have names. One is called Northwood Lane, but everybody calls it Goosey Lane. Who knows why? And the other road, but apparently it's called Do As You Like Street, because there used to be some ladies of ill repute that lived down there.
Oh my gosh!
which is quite... So the sort of friendly girls of the parish apparently used to live down there, but I don't know when, so I can't.
We haven't got one of those.
Oh, you just don't know where it is. But yes, so I would love to kind of know who they might have been and work out. Maybe I'll have to look for a load of illegitimate births, I suppose. But it's nothing I can tie up. I mean, it could be 300 years ago. Who knows?
Is that in Buckland Brewer?
Yeah.
Gosh.
But I've just had, I'm kind of not focusing on maps at the moment, because yesterday someone gave me a whole load, or gave Chris really, a whole load of photographs of Bucks Mills.
Oh my goodness. Ones you've not seen before.
Yes,
brilliant.
Including, I mean, a lot of them were photographs as opposed to postcards.
Yeah.
Really, really rare one of the quarry, when it was a working quarry there, and I've never seen. I haven't even seen that, but it's £40 on eBay or anything. I've just never seen it before at all. So I was very excited by that. So that's added to visualising it a little bit.
I was delighted the other day. A friend of mine is a librarian at a Cambridge college, and they were turning out stuff. And they asked me if I wanted some maps. She said this was a project.
Oh, yes!
During the Second World War, and it was all the enclosure maps for the whole county.
Wow!
All on old. They'd been printed from old glass plates. So that was.
Oh my gosh!
To get hold of. I mean, the archives already had a copy of those, but this was lovely to have a second copy and to have access to them. But only one of them is in my village, my parish, but all the other parishes are available. And I basically contacted all the different parish councils and local groups and sent it out to them, to the different maps. So,
Peter, I wonder if you might put my next lottery numbers on for me.
I win the lottery every time. I don't do it.
But it's like, I'm envious of all of your maps you were talking about before, and now you get contacted for giveaways of maps. It's not fair.
Wait till you see what I've got for the online stuff, which I'll show you.
Oh,
gosh.
Yes, brilliant.
Well, I hope so. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, it's just that it's just like, well, it's map envy completely. Wow.
I've got a nice one of Devenham. I don't know whether you'll be able to see this or not. Can you see that?
Not at the moment.
It's
Not very clearly.
Put it a little bit closer, perhaps, and we'll be all right. No, that's
Sorry, I should be aiming at
lovely.
the camera.
That's it. Just keep it still. Yeah, perfect.
Right.
What are your red blobs?
I don't know. They were already coloured in.
Oh!
I don't know what they mean.
Oh my gosh! Where did you get that from then?
From eBay.
Wow.
And are they coloured in, or is it like part of the map?
No, they look like they've been coloured in.
Well, we have on my maps that on the 1887 map, the dwellings are coloured in.
Right.
But that's obviously different from yours. But they're coloured in a very similar pink.
Well, this is 1905.
Yeah.
Hartsmere Union and Rural District.
That's bizarre. It's funny how Peter's are very clearly properties, but yours very clearly isn't.
No.
Yeah, this is the Ordnance Survey seemed to do that one very much as, you know, that's how they did it that year.
Yeah.
But
I'm not even sure what sort of resolution this is. Doesn't really
Probably
say.
be sort of top corner or bottom corner somewhere, but
Can't see it.
yeah, I would never find anything that's for sale like that on my, well, I say never. I'd be ever popped up on eBay. I mean, I have a search on eBay for Luffingcott and Techcott, and generally it's just somebody selling a mug that's got Techcott on it, which is not actually helpful to me to visualize my place in any way, shape or form, actually, or a key ring. It's like, no, that's not very authentic, really.
Well, we did find one document for you, which you blame me for costing you a lot of money.
Yes.
But, yes.
I did find
Was that the chap with the horse, on the horse?
I thought wasn't it a lease of some kind?
Oh, from Leslie What's-a-Chops. Yes. Yeah, that wasn't an eBay job though. That was
No.
the lady who collects leases. Yeah, yeah. No, but I was going to say I might have been blaming you for the one with the statue with the chap who was sort of commemorated for his great work in Techcott Hunt, as you mentioned earlier on. But I don't think I can blame you for that one. But that was rather expensive too.
Yes. There are downsides to finding these things as well as upsides.
Well, and it is the problem. I mean, Bucks Mills, I know there are sort of some, shall we say, some more common or garden postcards that you can buy 10 for a penny. But for certainly for my parishes, you just never find anything. And if you do, it goes for an absolute bomb because they're just rare as hen's eggs.
Yeah.
One of the things I've done, and I want to do more of actually in terms of visualizing, is understand the topography of the area. I don't know if you've heard of LiDAR.
Yes.
That's where they take. Yes, Janet, you've done it or got it.
Yeah. Well, I have no expertise in this whatsoever, but fortunately, someone who lived in my parish did, and most of the southwest has been done with this. It looks a little bit like an aerial photograph, but it isn't an aerial photograph because it's light in penetrating something. Peter may know, but it kind of takes a photograph or an image, but it can see through the vegetation, so it shows up things that you can't see. Yes.
Yeah, you can measure the height of the vegetation as well, but you basically can see the height of the land. So you can do a contour map from it, basically, because in our area in the Fens, every metre matters in a sense. The fact that I'm 3 metres higher than you means that I live and you die, sort of thing. Or it may show a pit, where they dug clay or something, but it's fascinating seeing it. And I'm trying to see how I can make it easier to use. But that data is all available free, the LiDAR data.
Yes, it is.
And how do you spell it?
LIDAR.
Oh,
I've got my forum, which isn't available at the moment. There's stuff on it there. So, but it's not. It's not even.
I'm googling.
Yes, do.
but it is good because you can also, in the same way as you can sometimes see on aerial photographs and with crop marks and so on, you can see signs of old buildings that no longer exist, or signs of trackways that no longer exist. And we're just not terribly popular at the moment because, well, not me personally, but somebody spotted something on the LiDAR. I'll say that in case they're watching, but it really wasn't me. That showed up in a field where there's planning in, and they've had to have an archaeological survey because it looked like something interesting. I don't know what came of it, but
I went to a presentation by a guy who was looking for Roman roads, and he found about 3 or 4 in North Cambridgeshire, and he'd found 3 or 4 new ones just by using the LiDAR data.
Wow. So well, I've looked on the, I've gone onto LiDAR. What's the data set that we're talking about? Or is it, do I use lots of different ones?
Well, there are, I can't remember at the moment, but there's lots of, they're very technical, but basically they're giving you how high in meters and centimeters the land is.
Okay.
You need to get that into a mapping system in order to see it and visualize it, which I've done, but I haven't. I can't remember exactly how to do it, and I want to make it easier.
Yeah. No, it's just because I went on there and it came up with 2,586 data sets. So I thought, good Lord, where do I start?
There's lots. There's lots.
There is some particular. I know the whole of the southwest has been done because that's where ours came from. But as I say, I didn't access it. It was kind of handed to me on a plate. So, but certainly it is accessible. But I have a feeling there might have had to been some kind of computer software jiggering about to get what we've got from the data that they provide, and I certainly didn't do that. So
yeah, I did that. It's it's all free software, but it just needs technical understanding and persistence.
I should have to have a look. It looks really interesting.
It's worth doing, definitely.
Yeah, there's just so many different things on there, as you say. That's why I sort of like, where should I start? Well, use anything and see where you go, I suppose, isn't it? Wow.
I'll see if I can find my map actually while I'm my map.
I think we've lost Kirsty now. She's off looking at her LiDAR.
Yeah, completely. I'm gone. Sorry. See you later. It's like we often say, that bright shiny object in the distance. It's like, wee. There's all things, like I say, that you just don't know are there.
Yes. Yeah. A nice map that I found just last year sometime actually was in the local Suffolk Record Office, and it looked like a hand-drawn map of Devenham showing it was during the middle of World War II, and it was showing all the defences, so all the roadblocks into and out of the village, where the first aid post was, where the ARPs hid, where the Observer Corps were based. It was really interesting. It was all hand-drawn and hand-coloured in. That was nice.
Wow. And that was just in the archive?
Yeah.
Well, I found...
Under the heading Debenham Invasion Committee. Because being on the East Coast, you see, that was where everybody thought the Germans were going to land.
The invaders were going to come, yeah.
I found a completely different map. It was showing where all aircraft men lived in our village during the war.
Oh.
I don't know whether that was for the ladies or what, but
yeah, check the illegitimate births, the same as we were talking with Janet.
Yeah, I think the Home Guard had maps. Someone was trying to give me a special Home Guard map the other day that her father had or something, and they looked just like an ordinary Ordnance Survey map to me, but she insisted it was the one that they'd had for the Home Guard. But I suspect what Susie's describing is probably more the sort of thing, particularly if you were somewhere coastal that was likely to be, or maybe somewhere like a dockyard or somewhere that was going to be a likely target.
Well, Debenham is actually the mouth of the Devon. Oh, sorry, the source of the Devon, I should say. The River Devon. So Debenham is a hamlet by the river. So anybody who's... I mean, it's not navigable anymore because it's far too shallow. It's only a trickle by the time it gets to us. except in winter. But further towards the coast, it's navigable.
Now the question is, does the name Devenham come from people who lived in Devenham?
Well, it's a tricky one because there is a bit of an argument that says the initial thought was that Devenham was named after Hamlet by the River Devon.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen other references that say the river was named after the village of Devenham. So I don't know.
Oh.
So you don't know which came first, the river or the hamlet.
No, chicken or the egg,
Yeah.
or the name. Yeah. Maybe it was people that lived there.
Yeah. And contrary to popular belief, Devenhams is not named after the village of Devenham.
No, just, you know, I've come across some people recently that were called Devenham, and they live not far away from Devenham. Right. So it just made me think whether that would be. Oh gosh! Wow, what's that, Peter?
Oh, sorry, has it appeared on you?
Oh,
yeah, it has.
Oh wow!
Wow. Burrows in the field. This is just from numbers.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, those are different because the village, some of the village is several meters above the floodplain, and of course the rest of the village are only a few centimeters. But it shows up when you look at it. It's not easy.
Incredible.
Not easy to interpret. There's the rest of the village up here.
With all, it's very clear. My goodness, I mean, you can see it.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of where the roads are and buildings and everything.
That's right. That's just numbers from the day, you know.
But you have to be very clever to be able to do this, Peter, I think.
I don't know about that, but
or know somebody who is.
Yes.
Oh yes. Well, yes, there is that.
Hopefully, we can make it a lot easier for people to do it. You know?
That would be good. Yeah. You do have to be a bit careful because the chap who got hold of the ones for this area, again, I think there must be something about living here. We were colouring in what looked to be features. So I think if you notice what Peter got there, you could almost see the plough lines in one of the fields. Well, we weren't really looking for that. We were looking for tracks and buildings and things. And then there was one area where there was all these circles, and we thought we discovered some Neolithic, round huts. And it turned out they were hay bales. And when they'd done the survey, it had picked up hay bales. But so that was a bit disappointing. But there were some genuine circular structures as well.
Oh,
yeah,
dear.
a little bit careful how you interpret things.
A totally different tack, something I haven't explored much yet, but I want to sometime, is looking at old deeds. And when they're talking about little areas of land, they describe them in terms of, north of Mr. Sandifer's field, west of so-and-so's field. If you link all those together, you can find out who, I mean, obviously on some of the maps, they already know who's owning or tenanting different fields. But
Has Peter gone?
Sound's gone a bit there.
Yeah. He's still there. Peter's still moving. I can't hear him, but he's moving.
I'm still moving, yes.
We missed the end of that bit, Peter. Unfortunately, I think the signal crackled up somewhere and we missed the end of it.
Yeah, basically just saying there's lots of indirect data in terms of which fields are next to which, because of the way they describe the field.
Right.
Oh. Seems like there's plenty for us to get our teeth into anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm very jealous of the next door village to us, actually, because there's a book written in the end of the 19th century by a chap who researched all this. It's quite a thick book, and he's talking about all the different fields and what they were used for, and who the farmers were, and how the roads have changed in living memory, and where he numbered the tracks and he mapped them out, not just roads but the tracks the cows used, and it's all in that book for this village. It's wonderful.
Wow.
The tracks the cows use. My gosh.
There is it's not really going to help you necessarily pinpoint a particular place on the ground, but there's a series of books by Charles Vancouver written around about 1800 or a few years afterwards about a survey of agriculture in the county of XYZ, depending where your county is. Pretty sure the whole of England is covered. I don't know if it goes beyond that. And it describes the soil, it describes the weather, it describes the type of farming and the implements and the timber and all sorts. It's really, really good. And I mean, I've got a facsimile copy for Devon, which made it, well, I say affordable. I think some of them are on things like Google Books. But you can get hold of them, and they're really quite descriptive and give you.
What are they called again?
Charles Vancouver is the author. I don't know if he actually did them all personally, but he comes up, and it's called, I'll see if I can find it, something like A Survey of Agriculture in the County of Devon, Kent, Sussex. But it's got some huge, great long title, typical, early 19th century book title. And we're all busy Googling. But he's definitely called Charles Vancouver anyway. I'll see if I can find a link.
Yeah, it sounds impressive. Is it literally like Charles Vancouver, like the place?
Yes.
Is it just Devon, or is it anywhere?
And he's done them for, there's all sorts of counties.
Oh yeah, I can see it on Google Books. Yeah, I can see it on Google Books. Yeah. Yeah.
You know this book?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really good one, that one, for
yes, maps.
understanding the map.
Yeah.
The Tithe, the National Farm Service I found useful. Took a lot of work in the National Archives, but again, the details are all on the wall.
Yes. The snag with the National Farm Survey is that I think there's 4 or 5 different forms for each farm, and they keep them in different piles. So you have to go through 5 different piles, and then you find that your particular farmer didn't fill the returns in very well. But I do like it as a record set. I think it's, but it's not much use for an urban place. It's only going to work for us with rural areas.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have something in our favour, Janet.
Yes.
Because most of it goes the other way.
Yes, because you don't.
You've lost me in Google for hours now. I'm gone. You're busy for the rest of my evening now.
You don't even get much in the way of directory entries for little rural parishes either, because they just don't feature.
No, it's usually tiny, isn't it? I mean, I think the Whites directory is sort of about 4 lines for my place, and mentions about 3 people. That's it. But that's good as well, because at least it shows you how much land there was in the parish.
Yeah.
So that's another use, although it's not a map, for kind of working out what was there at the time and how it's changed. Which I hadn't thought of actually until I said that. I'm just having a look on Januki now, as you do. But there's so much. I think that it's partly a difficulty, but it's a good thing. Is that there's so much available now online. It's a good thing, but I think for bigger parishes, it might be more of a challenge in terms of if people took on the whole of a reasonably sized place. There's a lot of stuff out there now, isn't there?
There is. Yes.
Whereas I'm just looking at the page on Januki for my particular place, which mentions me about 3 times, but there's not a lot else in there. It sort of gives you an overview and talks about the dividends and how much different places are valued at, but that's about it. So I feel a one-place study evening going ahead.
You don't want to know that the Vancouver history of Devon went for auction for £90, do you?
Oh.
No.
But it's on Google Books.
Yes, it is, and I mean that's an original. That's not a. It's That's a first edition, so you're probably spared that.
Yeah, I just stick with the Google Books version, I think.
No, they're very, very useful. But as I say, they're they're not just Devon, they're pretty much, I think, certainly all the English counties. I don't know. I don't know about Wales. I'm trying to think of an old Welsh county to search for.
I don't know, but yes, I mean, certainly just flicking through the one that's online on Google Books has got loads of information in it. So I should be clicking randomly.
And some of it's almost down to a parish level. Certainly a small group of parishes, which is very, very good.
I'm going to search for Techcot and see if it brings anything up. No! What a surprise. Not. Oh, no, Luffingcott. There was a little tiny bit about Luffingcott. But a tract of good tillage, it says. But that's about it. No, it's not much more in there, I don't think. Oh, she's found something.
I have. And it's Wikipedia as well. I'll put this link in here. It looks like there is things for Scotland, Ireland and Wales as well.
Oh, fantastic.
We must try and preserve this for our post-hangout blog.
Fantastic,
So that gives you all the different counties and what there is and who edited it and so on.
Oh yeah, General View of the Agriculture of the County of Devon, 1794 by Robert Fraser.
Oh.
Yeah, there you see. I even saw you something. That's literally on that link that you just sent. Oh my goodness, I think we're going to lose ourselves for hours tonight, aren't we? Eek!
Well, I don't know whether we ought to expect gratitude from people ideas or to take the blame for giving them rather a lot to do. But
yeah, but it's good to have the idea. If we don't have to do it tonight, though we probably will.
We can report back at the next hangout.
Yes, absolutely. Or in destination, Susie.
Indeed.
Or at the conference.
Yes, there is always that.
So many different opportunities.
Okay, well, if you think we're all done, I'm going to stop the broadcast.
well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Kirsty. And we will, for the benefit of others, we will report back on various things that we've discussed and we've found in the next 10 minutes or overnight, so that there's some kind of summary for people. Thank you very much, and we'll let Susie turn us off.